Good morning, students. So, in this class, we will be focusing on the module 4, which is the perspective of the subaltern, especially regarding the three important poems in this chapter, which includes Which Language Should I Speak by Arun Kamble, then Habit by F.M. Shinde, then Identity Card by S. Joseph. So, basically, this is from the second section in this module, which is the perspective of the subaltern, especially regarding the second section, which is based on the Dalits. So basically here we had focus on from page number 132 onwards in the textbook. So it is the subalterns and the marginalized who often get misrepresented in mainstream text. In the case of Dalits in India, the caste system is a discourse that justifies and promotes the interest of the upper caste. The Dalits and the lower caste are made to believe that their knowledge system is inferior and therefore they are not agents of their lives. The artistic expressions of the Dalits were seen as inferior or dismissed as folk. Though spontaneity in the European context is welcome, in Dalit text it was seen as impulsiveness and thoughtlessness. So here we had to focus on regarding the concept of the subalterns. So the word subalterns refers to any person or group of inferior rank or station, whether because of race, class, gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity or religion. In describing the cultural hegemony as popular history, Antonio Gramsci coined the term subaltern to identify the social groups excluded and displaced from the socio-economic institutions of society in order to deny their political voices. So basically the term subaltern was coined by Antonio Gramsci. So it refers to any person or group of inferior rank or station, whether because of race, class, gender, sexual orientation, ethnicity, or religion. And also, in describing the cultural hegemony as popular history, Antonio Gramsci coined this term in order to identify the social groups excluded and displaced from the socio-economic institutions of society in order to deny their political voices. So basically, they are the social groups excluded and displaced from the socio-economic institutions of society in order to deny their political voices. So they don't have the political voices, and also they are the excluded persons and displaced one from the socio-economic institutions of the society. So this is regarding the concept of this subaltern. So you have to focus on this concept of this subaltern in this module. Then we had focused on regarding the Dalits in India. So in case of Dalits in India, the caste system is a discourse that justifies and promotes the interest of the upper caste. The Dalits and the lower caste are made to believe that their knowledge system is inferior and therefore they are not agents of their lives. So this is also very significant, in which we already discussed regarding the chapter which is the Adivasi Will Not Dance by Hansda Sovendrashekhar, in which we focus on the Sandal community. So like that, the Dalits and the lower caste are made to believe that their knowledge system is inferior and therefore they are not agents of their lives. അതായത് ഇവരുടെ മേലെ എപ്പോഴും ഒരു അതോറിറ്റി, ഒരു പവർ എപ്പോഴും ഉണ്ടായിരിക്കും. സോ ഇൻ കേസ് ഓഫ് ദളിറ്റ്സ് ഇൻ ഇന്ത്യ, ദ കാസ്റ്റ് സിസ്റ്റം ഈസ് എ ഡിസ്കോഴ്സ് ദാറ്റ് ജസ്റ്റിഫൈസ് ആൻഡ് പ്രൊമോട്ട്സ് ദി ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റ് ഓഫ് ദി അപ്പർ കാസ്റ്റ്. So here we had to focus on regarding the concept of this caste system. So basically it is a kind of division in the society in which based on this different types of caste, the upper caste and the lower caste. So in the case of Dalits in India, the caste system is a discourse that justifies and promotes the interest of the upper caste. Then for instance, in Malayalam films, the lead characters are almost always either from a middle class Nair family or Syrian Christian. So this is just an example for this concept. So basically here we have to focus on regarding the caste system as well as the inferior groups of the Dalits and lower caste. So basically this is just to get a kind of idea regarding the concept of this subaltern in this module. So basically here we had to focus on regarding the second topic, the major second topic in this module, which is the Dalits. So under this topic we have three important poems, very short poems from the Dalit literature. So basically in the textbook from page number 133 onwards we have these poems. So in the Oxford India Anthology of Malayalam Dalit Writing, Dr. M. Dasan says that a popular Malayalam saying that reveals the thought process and worldview of many Malayalis goes, whether forms comes in the mouth is song for Koda. So here the Koda, it signifies metonymically and also metaphorically captures the Dalit life experience as it is perceived from without. The standards by which the Dalit writings were judged were Western or mainstream. Therefore, the Dalits were either silenced or were forced to emulate the upper caste. It is recently that Dalit texts have been made visible and authentic Dalit experiences recorded. So here we had focused on regarding the Dalit literature, especially regarding these three poems based on this Dalit literature. And also here we have a Malayalam term which is Koda, Kodakku പാട്ട് എന്ന രീതിയിൽ പറയുന്ന പോലെ. So basically it signifies that the Dalit life experience as it is perceived from without. Then after that, Dalits, they have been stereotyped in many ways and reduced to being sidekicks to villains or unskilled laborers having no identity. They remain as instruments to idolize the hero, to act as a contrast to the elite protagonist, or as the poor helpless victims who offer the protagonist an opportunity to display his heroism. So basically here we had to focus on regarding the Dalits, in which they are marginalized or they have been stereotyped in many ways and reduced to being sidekicks to the villains or unskilled laborers having no identity. And also they remain as instruments to idolize the hero, in which ഹീറോനെ സപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടി പോകുന്ന പോലെ to act as a contrast to the elite protagonist or as the poor helpless victims who offer the protagonist an opportunity to display his ഹീറോയിസം. ഒരു സ്റ്റോറി ആവട്ടെ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു സിനിമ ആവട്ടെ, അതിൽ ഹീറോയ്ക്ക് ഹീറോയിസം കാണിക്കാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു ഓപ്പർച്യൂണിറ്റി മാത്രമായിട്ടാണ് എപ്പോഴും ദളിത് എന്ന കാറ്റഗറി വന്നിരുന്നത് എന്നാണ് ഇവിടെ പറയുന്നത്. സോ ബേസിക്കലി ദിസ് റിഗാർഡിംഗ് ദി കോൺസെപ്റ്റ് ഓഫ് ദി ദളിത്സ് ഇൻ ദിസ് മൊഡ്യൂൾ. Now we had focused on regarding the poem which is which language should I speak. So before that, the artistic experience of the Dalits were seen as inferior and dismissed as folk. It is recently that Dalit literature has been made visible. Then Sharan Kumar Limbale, one of the earliest Dalit writers, defines Dalit literature as literature which artistically portrays the sorrows, tribulations, slavery, degradation, ridicule and poverty endured by Dalits. So basically this is just a definition for the Dalit literature according to Limbale, in which literature which artistically portrays the sorrows, tribulations, slavery, degradation, ridicule and poverty endured by the Dalits. Then we had focused on this poem which is written by famous Marathi Dalit writer who is Arun Kamble. So Arun Kamble was a Marathi writer and Dalit activist. He was the professor and head of the department of Marathi at the University of Mumbai. Then he was the founder, member and president of the Dalit Pandar. He was also the national general secretary of the Janata Dal. He was responsible of making many important decisions in favor of the Dalits, the backward classes and minorities. So this is about the author who is Arun Kamble. Now we had focused on this poem. So which language should I speak by Arun Kamble? Chewing the trotters in the badlands, my grandpa, the permanent resident of my body, the household of tradition, heap on his back, hollers at me. You war son, talk like we do, talk I tell you, picking through the Vedas, his top knot well oiled with ghee. My Brahmin teacher tells me, you idiot, use my language correctly. Now I ask you, which language should I speak? And also this poem was translated from Marathi by Priya Adarkar. So here the last line is very important, in which language should I speak? ഏത് ലാംഗ്വേജിലാണ് സംസാരിക്കേണ്ടത്? So basically chewing the trotters, which means pig's foot as food, my grandfather tells me to speak in the language they speak. He lives forever in my body. On his back you will find a bundle of household traditions. Picking through Vedas, my Brahmin teacher, with his top knot well oiled with ghee, tells me to use the language correctly. Then finally the speaker asks, which language should I speak? So here we have two instances in the life of the speaker, in which the first part is regarding the grandfathers, second one is regarding the teacher who is a Brahmin teacher. So here the grandfather asked this speaker to use the Marathi language, whereas the Brahmin teacher told him to use the upper class language, which means the Vedas or like that. So at the end of this poem, the speaker asked the reader in which language should I speak? ഞാൻ ഏത് ലാംഗ്വേജിലാണ് സംസാരിക്കേണ്ടത്? സോ അവിടെ പറയാണ്, എൻ്റെ ഗ്രാൻഡ് പാ പറയുന്ന എന്നോട് ഈ ഒരു ലാംഗ്വേജ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യാൻ, ഇവിടെ ബ്രാഹ്മിൻ ടീച്ചർ പറയുന്നതിനോട് വേറൊരു ലാംഗ്വേജ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യാൻ. സോ ഞാൻ ഏത് ലാംഗ്വേജാണ് യൂസ് ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്? ഒരു കൺഫ്യൂഷൻ വരുന്നൊരവസ്ഥ. സോ ദിസ് ഇസ് റിഗാർഡിംഗ് ദിസ് പോയം ബൈ അരുൺ കാംബ്ലെ, in which language should I speak? Now we have the classroom activity based on this poem, which is the classroom activity 1 in this module. So you have to write this classroom activity in your notebook. So let's go through this classroom activity 1 based on this poem, which is which language should I speak by Arun Kamble. So the first question is that what do the images, which means chewing trotters in the badlands and his top knot well oiled with ghee. So here we have these two images. So basically, what do this image evoke? So these images evoke two different ways of living of people belonging to two different caste communities. While poverty and birth in a lower caste community make one person chew trotters, which means pig's feet, in badlands as part of survival. Being born into a Brahmin community, the latter person can afford to oil his knot with ghee, which becomes another marker of the caste superiority. So this question is regarding the two important images in this poem, which includes the chewing the trotters in the badlands and also his top knot well oiled with ghee. So these two images, it gives two different ways of living of people belonging to two different caste communities. Then the second question is that, do you think the stanza division conveys any meaning? So the answer to this question is that yes, the stanza division conveys the division of upper and lower caste communities in the society and the disparities in the use of language, which is based on the different ways of living that caste system forces them into. So, like I said earlier, in which we have two parts for this poem in such a way that the stanza division conveys the division of the upper and also the lower caste communities in the society, and also the disparities in the use of language, which is based on the different ways of living that caste system forces them into. Then regarding the third question, what meaning does the line household of tradition heap on his back convey? Can you spot a metaphor here? So here we have a metaphor in which the line is a metaphorical description of how a tradition of caste violence and discrimination burdens the existence of the grandfather and shapes the language that he uses. So it is a kind of metaphor in which household of tradition heap on his back. So here we have the metaphor regarding the household of tradition in such a way that it signifies how a tradition of caste violence and discrimination burdens the existence of the grandfather and shapes the language that he uses. So the fourth question is that, in which line in this poem do you think the poet brings in the anguish of being a social outcast? Explain. So the line, which language should I speak, brings in the anguish of being a social outcast because the line expresses the dilemma of a person born in a lower caste community as to which is his language. Should he be using the language of his own community, evolved as a language of resistance against feudal and casteist violence, or should he be using the language of the Brahmin perpetuator of caste violence? So basically here we have to focus on regarding the line, which is, which language should I speak? It brings in the anguish of being a social outcast because the line expresses the dilemma of a person born in a lower caste community as to which is his language. So this means that the dilemma of a person born in a lower caste community as to which is his language. ഏതാണ് സ്വന്തം ലാംഗ്വേജ് എന്ന് മനസ്സിലാവാത്തൊരവസ്ഥ. So this is the point that we have to keep in mind regarding this line in which language should I speak. So it is a kind of dilemma of a person, especially in this poem it is a person born in a lower caste community. So that's regarding the fourth question, the final question regarding the classroom activity 1 of this module 4, especially regarding the second section in this module, which is Dalits. Now we have the second poem in this module, which is Identity Card, which was written by S. Joseph. So in my student days, a girl came laughing, our hands met kneading her rice and fish curry. On a bench we became a Hindu-Christian family. I willed away my time reading Neruda's poetry, and meanwhile I misplaced my identity card. I noticed, she said, returning my card, the account of your stipend is entered there in red. These days I never look at a boy and a girl lost in themselves. They will depart after a while. I won't be surprised even if they unite. Their identity cards won't have scribbling in red. So basically this poem was translated from Malayalam by K. Sachidanandan. So that's regarding the poem, which is Identity Card by S. Joseph. So regarding this poet, S. Joseph is a Malayali poet of the postmodern era. He has published a number of works on contemporary issues. So in this poem we had focused on regarding the experience of the speaker of this poem, in which, in my student days, a girl came to me laughing. We shared the rice and fish curry she brought. We sat on a bench becoming a Hindu-Christian family. I spent my time reading Pablo Neruda's poetry. I misplaced my identity card. She found and returned it to me, saying that the account number of my stipend was entered in red ink. These days, I never look at a girl or a boy intimately talking together. They will go away after some time. I won't even be surprised if they get married. Their identity cards will not have scribbling in red. So in this poem we have two parts, in which in the first part it is regarding the identity card of the student and also regarding the intimacy between them. And moving to the second part, it is narrated by another person. Basically here we have to also regarding the identity card, which signifies the identity of the speaker and also the lover. Now we have a classroom activity based on this poem, which is another classroom activity in which we have three important questions that we have to keep in mind. So the first one is that, do you think the Dalit in the poem above is made to feel marginalized and isolated? Yes, the Dalit is made to feel marginalized and isolated in the classroom because of how he is made conscious about his lower caste identity by his classmate. So, do you think the Dalit in this poem above is made to feel marginalized and isolated? So, the answer to the question is that yes, because the Dalit in this poem made to feel marginalized and isolated in the classroom in such a way that he is made conscious about his lower caste identity by his classmate. Now we have the second question, in which why does the poet use the image of the identity card? How does the identity card with scribbling in red define the speaker? Then what are the other words that you think of with the word red? So, identity card is a document meant to prove a person's identity as well as establish his or her relationship to a specific nation or space. Here, the identity card is the way in which a Dalit student's identity is revealed to his girlfriend. The scribbling in red denotes the red color, which is used to mark students who require caste reservation. This marking in red prompts the girl to rethink her love towards the boy who is a lower caste. Then this red color is often associated with creativity, revolution, love, and also productivity. So, however, here the scribbling in red leads to the deserting of the boyfriend by the girl. So here we have focused on this question based on the color, which is red. Now we have the final question in this segment, in which are there words that evoke a sense of the place? Where do you think the poet sets his poem? What significance does the name Neruda have in this poem? So words like student days, bench, then stiff, then identity card suggest that it is a classroom. Then Neruda's concept of love is a revolutionary and also esoteric, which asserts that love is a secular and democratic. However, identity card critics such a romanticized concept of love. Then finally, love is determined by one's caste identity. So based on this poem, regarding the setting of this poem, it is in the classroom, and also we had focused on the topic, which is identity card, in such a way that it suggests the identity. So that's regarding the classroom activity based on this poem. Now we had focused on the final poem in this section, which is Habit by F.M. Shinde. Once you were used to it, you never afterwards feel anything. Your blood never more congeals nor flows, for wet mud has been slapped over all your bones. Once you are used to it, even the sorrow that visits you, sometimes in dreams, melts away. Embrace, habit is in use to breaking out in feelings. So this poem also translated from Marathi by Priya Adarkar. So regarding this poet, he was another Marathi writer born in the small village Ruppur in the Hingoli district of Maharashtra. He has published 24 anthologies of poems. Besides, he has written one act plays, essays, and so on. So regarding this poem, once you are used to something, you will never feel anything afterwards. Your blood will not clot, nor will it flow, because wet mud has been slapped over all your bones. Once you are used to it, your sorrows melt away as if they are ashamed. Then finally, habits do not allow to express their feelings strongly. So basically here we have to focus on the title of this poem, which is habit. So it is a kind of routine. So here we have to focus on regarding the first line of this poem, in which once you are used to something, you will never feel anything afterwards. Then your blood will not clot, nor will it flow, because wet mud has been slapped over all your bones. Then again, once you are used to it, your sorrows melt away as if they are ashamed. habits do not allow to express their feelings strongly. So this is the point that we have to keep in mind, in which habits do not allow to express their feelings strongly. So in this poem also we have two different parts in this poem, in which once you are used to something you will never feel anything afterwards. Secondly, once you are used to it, your sorrows melt away as if they are ashamed. So that's regarding this poem, which is Habit by F.M. Shinde. So this poem gives a kind of clear idea regarding the habit of this speaker, in such a way that once you are used to it, you never afterwards feel anything. You never afterwards feel anything. Now we have to focus on regarding the classroom activity based on this chapter. So the first one is that who is speaking in this poem? So the speaker of the poem is a person who has had to face the discrimination of casteism. Generations of casteist violence have made men used to their segregated existence in such a way that sorrow is embraced to express itself even in dreams. So it is a kind of discrimination of caste system based on this routine. So the speaker of this poem is a person who has had to face the discrimination based on this caste system. Then also generations of casteist violence have made men used to their segregated existence in such a way that sorrow is embraced to express itself even in dream. So here the sorrows are their feelings, a kind of their habit. So that's regarding the first question. Now we have the second question, in which what do you notice about the length of the lines? Does it convey any emotion? What do you think? So the lines are short and broken in keeping with the leaves broken by caste, which is depicted in this poem. The Dalit consciousness is conveyed through the form of this poem. So here we have to focus on the feeling of the Dalits, and also the lines are short in nature, and also it is broken in keeping with the leaves broken by caste, which is depicted in this poem. So ഇവിടെ കാസ്റ്റ് സിസ്റ്റം അതെങ്ങനെയാണ് ഡിവൈഡ് ചെയ്ത് പോയിരിക്കുന്നത്, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അതിൻ്റെ ഡിവിഷൻ എങ്ങനെയാണ്, ആ രീതിക്കാണ് ഇവിടെ ഒരു പോയത്തിലായാലും നമുക്ക് ലെങ്ത് ഓഫ് ദി ലൈൻസ് ശ്രദ്ധിച്ചാൽ നമുക്ക് അറിയാൻ പറ്റും. So basically the lines in this poem are short and broken in keeping with the leaves broken by caste, which is depicted in this poem. Now we have the final question based on this poem, in which in what sense is the word habit used in this poem? Do these habits that the speaker's community has developed help them? How not? So the word habit has been used to denote the way in which generations of physical violence and emotional trauma of casteism have led to a passivity in those who have had to face them to such an extent that sorrow itself is embraced to show itself. So these developed habits do not help them in any way. It only helps the perpetuators of caste system. So basically here the term habit, it was used to denote the way in which the generations of physical violence and emotional trauma of caste system have led to a passivity in those who have had to face them to such an extent that sorrow itself is embraced to show itself. So this signifies that the word habit, it signifies the casteism in such a way that sorrow itself is embraced to show itself. So basically these habits do not help them in any way. So that's regarding the classroom activity based on this poem, which is Habit by F.M. Shinde. So today we'll discuss regarding the three important poems based on the second section, which is Dalits, the module 4, which is the perspective of the subaltern. So we had focused on the three important poems and also the classroom activity based on these three poems. So the first one was that which language should I speak by Arun Kamble. Then we discussed regarding the identity card by S. Joseph. And finally Habit by F.M. Shinde. And also you had focused on regarding the classroom activity based on these poems. Basically these classroom activities are very important regarding the examination point of view. So kindly go through the classroom activities based on this poem. And also regarding the module 3, which is the literature and ideology, you have to understand all these kinds of concepts, as well as you have to focus on the 5 classroom activities that we discussed. So you have to focus on the classroom activities based on the chapters that we discussed. So today we discussed regarding the module 4, especially regarding the section 2 in the module 4, which is the Dalits, especially regarding the concept of the subaltern and also the Dalit. Then finally we discussed regarding the 3 important poems. They are the identity card, then habit, and also the which language should I speak by Arun Kamble. So that's regarding the second section from the module 4 of this paper. So kindly go through the textbook from page number 132 to 137 and also focus on the classroom activities. So this will be the final class on this paper. So that's for today. Thank you. Happy learning. All the best wishes for your future. Thank you.